G'day guys, and welcome to Semen Retention. To all my brothers on Semen Retention, keep holding on. Now, I want to talk about how you become a bit more brutal and cutthroat on Semen Retention. So let me tell you a little story, and as to why we become brutal, right? Well, I think before we get to the story, let's just talk about why this happens. You got a massive build-up of testosterone in your system. Also, you are regulating your nervous system and you're kind of making it a priority to keep your nervous system relaxed. Now, what I've noticed recently is that there's quite a lot of people that I was friends with when I was in a deregulated nervous system. And I've been doing all the self-work and the inquiry and understand that through semen retention and practices like yoga and meditation and just living in my truth, I actually prefer to be more relaxed than to actually associate with certain people. The funny thing about being an adult is everyone likes to say, oh, I'm busy, or sorry, I forgot about this because blah, blah, blah. It's just like, the interesting and irony of it is that the more relaxed and the more regulated your nervous system is, the more organized, the more reliable you become. On the flip side, if you are already harnessing this frequency of relaxation and organized and, being a set apart kind of individual just makes you just operate differently. And from what I've experienced is that I just clean up my energetic field with human beings. I don't like leaving trash hanging around. And I'm not trying to dehumanize people and call them trash, but I'm just saying their frequency is of a rubbish kind of nature, like basic communication, basic organization skills, Like, you don't have to lower your frequency to meet these people in the middle. You can just clean it up, put it in the bin, walk away, let the bin man do his work. So I've had this kind of interaction with people within my working field that probably started nearly 10 years ago, which is crazy. 8 years ago. I've known them for a long time. And they were never my friends, but they were professionals. But then, as time's gone on, two of us out of the three have kind of continued to really step into that professional kind of label. And the other one has become a depleted Kuma. He's still, I guess, considered professional in what he can do, but he is not seen as a professional. And what's the difference? Well, you could argue, let's use, let's use like a random singer, like Kanye West, right? Everyone sees that he has the ability to act professionally because throughout the mid-2000s and through the early 2010s, he was professional about the way that he did things. But then, as time went on, he started acting unprofessionally. And yes, I am going to be the first to admit that acting professionally is a form of deception. It is a form of masking wearing, not being your authentic self. But with that being said, if you were to be your truly authentic self, you wouldn't need to work with someone that you didn't want to work with. So what I'm trying to say here is when you are acting, stress-free, relaxed, and all that kind of stuff, you're more than happy to just be like, I don't want to work with you. Or you won't say it like that, but you'll say, hey, look, I've come to think about some new directions in my lifetime, and I want to pursue them instead. Now, that's a lot different than holding on to resentment and a scarcity mindset where you're like, I need to keep working for this person to earn my money. That's just not how this world works. You actually just need to let go of that kind of idea and just like go fully into your frequency and not be bound by whatever it is that people are trying to do. So don't be afraid to cut people off. Don't be afraid to get to a point where you're just like, I'm just not going to do that. You know, it's pretty simple. So for me, I had a appointment with these guys booked in advance, months in advance actually. And then we had a performance that was, you know, so we had a rehearsal and then we had a performance that's coming up. Now, the performance, get paid hundreds of dollars, get a free meal, free accommodation in a 5-star holiday, you know, location, out in nature. And, you know, you get this whole experience of not just playing in a dive bar for money. You go out, go on a road trip, go hang out in nature for the weekend, and you get paid for it. And one of them, unfortunately, has become, you know, has to be collateral damage because the other one pulled the old, oh, sorry, I accidentally double booked. I accidentally, I might not be able to make this rehearsal. So what happens was they are both gone. The other one that's kind of collateral damage is he's also not really great with communication. To be honest, I run a tight ship, okay? There's a reason why I'm a 6-figure musician nowadays. There's a reason why I'm steps above my peers as far as in my career goes. Am I more musically talented than them? I would actually say we're all kind of equal. We've all balanced each other out in many different ways. And that's why I liked working with them. But from a professional standpoint, they don't understand the subtleties. You know, they don't understand the subtleties of just staying with your word, you know, just committing to something. And if you don't want to commit to something, then don't accept it. Don't put it in your calendar as if something better comes along the way, I'll definitely let this gig go. You know, put it as I'm going to do this because I want to do it. Because trust me, you're going to manifest a lot more better opportunities with intentional work. I'm going to say that again. Don't fill your calendar or your working week with things that are, I'm going to do this, and whilst I do this, I'm going to look for something else and hope for something better to come. No. You want to fill your week with intentional work. People don't understand this. There's a reason why, you know, we've got such a huge, I was going to say working kind of class, but even the working class is diminishing and becoming unemployed. And why is that? Because the people that are very competent and capable are now outsourcing a lot of menial tasks to AI and robots, or due to AI, they're optimizing their own knowledge so much and becoming even more and more intelligent and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then they're getting to a point where they just don't require the extra work. So this is why when you're practicing semen retention and you become relaxed and, you know, regulated and you're full of life force and vigor, you're not like, for me, we're playing chess here. We're playing 4-5D chess, you know, things are moving very differently, right? So if I was to play that gig with those guys and, you know, do the rehearsal and, you know, just kind of go through the motions again. Oh yeah, that'll do. I'm presenting myself on a frequency that they brought to the table, rather than presenting myself at the frequency I can bring to the table. Now, what would you prefer? A solo artist playing up here or a band playing down there? I think I'd prefer the solo artist up here. And not only that, I'm getting a better venue. Sorry, I'm making a better offer for the venue to pay me as a solo artist. Therefore, I get paid more, and they don't have to pay the band. They don't have to give, you know, free food for the band as well. And also, just connections. They see me as a genuine person. They see me as a person that respects their business, because they're like, oh, hang on. Yeah, you know, tourism's been a bit low down because, you know, the cost of living's a bit harsh these days. And I'm working with them. But on the flip side, these people that I was working with, they're not working with me. They're being passive. And this is the issue with like beta males and, you know, like very, you know, Kumas essentially. Kumas are just very docile. They just take orders and then they hang in resentment for most of their life. And you don't want that energy around you. Trust me, you don't want that energy around you, because it impacts you. Even, okay, let's use the example of friends, right? I'm going to take a sip of water. So with friends, a lot of the times when the friends are in relationships, you will notice this when you're on semen retention. You will become the emotional sponge for your friend because of all the toxicity that exists within his relationship. Now, I'm not going to say men are victims or women are victims, but, you know, relationships these days a lot of people are coming from very traumatized childhoods. And I'm not saying that they've been, you know, completely, you know, absolutely mauled in as far as the depths of trauma that they could go through. Personally, I've been in a relationship with someone that had been through quite very dark kind of stuff. But majority of the people have some sort of trauma, whether it's related to their parents or abandonment or, you know, anxiety, kind of all that kind of stuff, right? So most relationships these days are coming from an unhealed state. And Carl Jung talks about the process of individuation, which is the idea of becoming yourself, like going on a self journey. And this is what we're doing when we're on semen retention, is we're going through the journey of individuation. And individuation means that we're going to start to really cultivate these things that are related to our closest alignment. So rather than living in the shadow of our parents, we begin to follow the light of God and follow our true path. And that's where the real healing occurs. But a lot of people, they go into relationships, and essentially what happens is they're fixing and fighting with each other's wounds. So what that means is that, you know, if you've got an anxiety kind of issue, they're going to be trying to, you know, be anxious around you because they think of you as being their father and how their father was not there for them and all that kind of stuff. You get the idea, right? So when it comes to being on semen retention and maintaining your energy and having this cutthroat kind of attitude, what you'll notice is that your friends that are in relationships, again, they're all flaky. They're all flaky because they don't have the vigor inside them. They don't have the balls to be like, yep, let's do that, let's lock it in, let's go now, have some fun, let's chill, let's, you know, talk. They're like, oh yeah, I gotta go pick up my girlfriend from the city who's hanging out with all her friends in the city, and I'm gonna drive all the way out to the city and pick her up, so I can't do this tonight. But I was hoping if you were in the city, we could hang out there because it'd be convenient for me. It's like, what? And then also the other times where it's like, oh, hey, I'm actually going grocery shopping with my girlfriend, should be home in about an hour, I'll let you know. And then 2.5 hours pass and then they call you up and wondering what's the go. You know, it's just like, dude, I don't, like you said, an hour. A human with common courtesy would actually just like get to that hour point and then be like, okay, I'm still a bit busy, but keen to hang out later. And so what happens is that you just start to realize, oh, hang on a second, like this guy, he's probably in the middle of like grocery shopping with his girl, and they're probably arguing about something, or like there's a little thing, or like she's having some sort of anxiety thing where it's just like, oh, I've got to take care of this, you know, this overgrown child, or vice versa. Maybe he's the overgrown child and he's depressed about, like, you know, how he's not making enough money and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, you realize that a lot of these people are just living in relationships and they haven't even realized themselves fully. And they walk through this life with hatred and resentment towards anyone that has the light within them. And this is why on semen retention, you're going to feel the energy around you, and you're going to feel the shadow and the shade that people cast upon you, because they can't handle your light. So they have to cast shade on you. Literally, they have to dim you down. They have to put darkness onto you. So those kind of people, they're going to hit you up when they want an emotional release and they want to feel heard, because they don't feel heard within their own relationships. And I just suggest that you guys stay on semen retention. Don't toy with these people. You know, you could block them if you want to. You could just not talk to them. You could unfollow them, blah, blah, blah. You could just like be straight up and be saying, hey mate, I'm not really interested in, you know, being friends anymore, or something like that. Whatever you do, stick by that decision. Don't be one of these coomers and flip-flop on your decision. Just stand on this decision and then move into that next timeline, because you can't keep toying around with these old versions of you and these old NPCs in your world continue to be part of your current journey. So that's the end of my video today. Don't be afraid to just be cutthroat with people. Doesn't matter if they're professionals or friends. And, you know, I talked about women in the other video as well. If they're your girlfriend and, you know, you're getting to a point where you just like feel suffocated, or feel, you know, like I feel emasculated, just cut her off. There's always a female out there for you. But you got to really know who you are before you start to enter into these relationships. So on that note, subscribe, like, comment if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.